What you're about to witness is one of the most emotional and unexpected moments in Judge Caprio's entire career. A simple parking ticket, an address that triggers a flood of memories, and a discovery so heartbreaking that even this seasoned judge struggles to maintain his composure. But before we dive into this incredible story that will leave you in tears, let me ask you something. Where are you watching us from? United States? Canada? United Kingdom? Australia? Brazil? Drop it in the comments, because I love knowing this amazing community is growing all around the world. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we bring you the most powerful and touching Judge Caprio moments that prove compassion still exists in our justice system. Trust me, this case will stay with you long after the video ends. It's a typical Tuesday morning in Providence, Rhode Island. The courtroom is filled with the usual mix of people, some nervous, some resigned, all waiting for their turn before Judge Caprio. The cases have been moving along at a steady pace. Parking violations, traffic tickets, the standard fare of municipal court. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing to suggest that the next case will be anything different. But sometimes life has a way of surprising us, of connecting dots we didn't even know existed. The bailiff calls the next case Eleanor Chen, parking violation, zone restricted parking, and through those courtroom doors walks a woman who immediately captures everyone's attention. Eleanor Chen is in her late 70s, maybe early 80s. She's small and frail, moving carefully with a walker. Her hands shake slightly as she grips the handles. She's dressed simply but neatly, clearly someone who takes pride in her appearance despite her obvious struggles. Her face is lined with age and worry, the kind of deep lines that come from years of hardship and loss. She approaches the podium slowly, each step an effort. The bailiff moves to help her, but she waves him off politely with a gentle smile. "I'm okay. Thank you. I can manage." Her voice is soft but clear, with a slight accent that suggests English isn't her first language. There's a dignity in her movements, a quiet strength that speaks of someone who's faced difficult times but refuses to be defeated by them. Judge Caprio looks up from his paperwork with his usual warm expression. "Good morning, Mrs. Chen. I see you're here about a parking violation. Before we begin, are you comfortable standing, or would you like us to bring you a chair?" Eleanor shakes her head. "I'm fine standing, Your Honor. Thank you for asking. It's good for me to stand. Keeps me moving. The doctor says I need to stay active." Judge Caprio smiles kindly and picks up the citation. "All right, Mrs. Chen, let's see what we have here. It says you parked in a zone-restricted area. The citation was issued at..." He pauses, looking at the address. His expression changes subtly. Something flickers across his face. Recognition, surprise, perhaps even pain. "The citation was issued at 247 Benefit Street. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor, that's correct." Eleanor's voice wavers slightly. "That's my home. Or rather, it was my home for 43 years. I still go there sometimes, even though I don't live there anymore." Judge Caprio is staring at the paperwork now, but you can tell his mind is somewhere else entirely. Those who know him well can see it in his eyes. A memory surfacing. Something significant. He looks up at Eleanor, and when he speaks, his voice is different. Softer. Almost hesitant. "Mrs. Chen, 247 Benefit Street. That's the old Victorian house with the blue shutters and the oak tree in the front yard. Is that right?" Eleanor's eyes widened in surprise. Yes, Your Honor. That's exactly right. How did you know? Do you know the house? If you're already sensing something powerful is about to unfold, hit that like button right now, because what happens next will absolutely break your heart in the most beautiful way possible. Stay with us because this connection is about to reveal something neither of them expected. Judge Caprio sets down the papers and takes off his reading glasses slowly. He's quiet for a moment, clearly processing something, deciding how much to share. Mrs. Chen, I know that house very well. Very well indeed. When I was a young man, just starting my career, struggling to figure out my path in life, I had a mentor, a teacher, who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Professor Richard Chen. He taught political science at Providence College. He lived at 247 Benefit Street. The courtroom goes absolutely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Eleanor's hand goes to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears instantly. Richard was my husband, she whispers. My Richard. You knew Richard? Judge Caprio's own eyes are glistening now. He stands up from his bench, something he rarely does unless the moment truly calls for it. I did more than know him, Mrs. Chen. He changed my life. I was his student in 1968. I was young, angry at the world, didn't think I had any future. I was ready to drop out of college. And Professor Chen, your husband, he wouldn't let me quit. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Eleanor is crying openly now, tears streaming down her weathered face. She's gripping her walker tightly to keep herself steady. He was like that, she says, her voice breaking. He was always seeing the best in people, always believing in his students. He used to stay up late at night at that house on Benefit Street, grading papers, writing letters of recommendation, calling students who were struggling. He cared so much. He cared about everyone. Judge Caprio's voice is thick with emotion now. He came to that house many times, Mrs. Chen. Your husband invited me to your home when I was going through a particularly difficult time. I remember it like it was yesterday. You made tea. You had classical music playing on the record player. There were books everywhere, floor to ceiling, and Professor Chen sat with me in his study for hours, talking about justice, about service, about what it means to make a difference in people's lives. He's the reason I went to law school. He's the reason I'm standing here today. Drop a comment right now if you're feeling the weight of this moment, because this isn't just about a parking ticket anymore. This is about legacy. This is about how one person's kindness ripples through time in ways we can never fully predict. Tell me in the comments what country you're from and if you've ever had a mentor who changed your life. Eleanor is trying to compose herself, but the emotions are overwhelming. Richard died 12 years ago, Your Honor. Cancer. He fought so hard, but in the end, she can't finish the sentence. I've lived alone in that house ever since. All those memories. Every room filled with him. His books, his papers, his favorite chair where he used to sit and read. I couldn't bear to change anything. But last year, I had to sell it. The property taxes, the maintenance, my medical bills. It was too much. I couldn't afford to keep it anymore. Judge Caprio's expression is one of profound sadness. I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Chen. Your husband was an extraordinary man, one of the finest people I've ever known. The world lost someone truly special when he passed. Eleanor nods, wiping her tears with a tissue she pulls from her pocket. After I sold the house, I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It's affordable, close to the senior center, but sometimes, Your Honor, sometimes I drive back to Benefit Street. I park across the street, and I just look at the house. I remember our life there. I remember Richard sitting on that porch, reading the newspaper in the morning sun. I remember our children playing in that yard. I remember 43 years of life and love in that house. She takes a shaky breath. The day I got this ticket, I had parked there to visit, just to sit in my car and remember. I didn't realize it was a restricted zone now. Things have changed so much in the neighborhood. New signs, new rules. I was only there for 20 minutes. I wasn't hurting anyone. I was just remembering. I was just missing my husband and my old life. I know I shouldn't have parked there, but I couldn't help myself. The courtroom is completely silent, except for the sound of people quietly crying. The clerk has tissues out. The court officer is looking away, his jaw clenched. Even the prosecutor is visibly moved, her professional demeanor cracking. This isn't just a case anymore. This is a moment of profound human connection, of past and present colliding in the most unexpected way. Judge Caprio has to take a moment to compose himself. He clears his throat, but his voice still comes out rough with emotion. Mrs. Chen, let me tell you something about your husband that maybe you don't know. In 1969, I was accepted to law school, but I had no money. None. I was going to turn it down. And your husband, without telling me, without asking for anything in return, wrote letters to scholarship committees. He made phone calls. He advocated for me tirelessly. When I finally got a full scholarship, I found out later that he had written a 10-page letter about my potential, about my character, about why I deserved the chance. 10 pages. He barely knew me, but he believed in me that much. Share this video right now if you believe in the power of teachers and mentors, if you believe that kindness creates ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. Because Richard Chen's kindness in 1969 is affecting someone's life in this courtroom today, decades later. Eleanor is sobbing now, but they're tears of pride mixed with grief. That's exactly who he was, she manages to say. He never told me about individual students by name because he wanted to protect their privacy. But he would come home exhausted, and I'd ask him why he worked so hard, why he gave so much. And he'd say, Eleanor, if I can help one person find their path, if I can help one person realize their potential, then everything is worth it. That was his mission in life. Judge Caprio nods, his own tears threatening to fall now. He lived that mission every single day, Mrs. Chen, and I'm living proof of his impact. Everything I've tried to do in this courtroom, every person I've tried to help, every moment of compassion I've tried to show, it all traces back to what your husband taught me. He taught me that justice isn't just about the law, it's about seeing people. He looks down at the parking ticket on his desk, then back at Eleanor. Mrs. Chen, I'm dismissing this citation entirely. You don't owe anything, not one penny. But more than that, I want you to know something. Your husband's legacy lives on. Every single day in this courtroom, I try to honor what he taught me. Every time I show mercy instead of judgment, every time I see a person instead of just a case number. That's Richard Chen's influence. That's his legacy. And through me, he's touched thousands of lives, thousands of people who will never know his name, but who have been affected by his kindness through my actions. Eleanor can barely stand now, the emotion overwhelming her. The bailiff quickly brings a chair and helps her sit down. She's crying so hard, her whole body is shaking. Thank you, Your Honor, she whispers between sobs. Thank you for remembering him. Thank you for honoring him. You have no idea what this means to me since he died. Sometimes I wonder if his life mattered. If all those hours he spent with students, all that care he gave, if it made any real difference. And now, to hear this, to know that he changed your life, that through you he's still helping people. She can't continue, overcome by emotion. Judge Caprio comes down from his bench again, just like he did with Harold Patterson. He walks over to Eleanor and gently takes her hand. Mrs. Chen, your husband's life mattered more than you could possibly know. He didn't just change my life. He changed the trajectory of thousands of lives through the work I've been able to do because of him. Every person I've helped, every case where I've shown compassion, that's partly because of what Richard Chen taught me. His legacy is alive and thriving. Tell me in the comments right now if you've ever had a teacher or mentor who changed your life. Someone who believed in you when no one else did. Someone who saw your potential before you saw it yourself. Let's honor those people in the comments because they deserve to be remembered and celebrated. But Judge Caprio isn't finished. He turns to his clerk. Please take down Mrs. Chen's contact information. I want to stay in touch with her. And then he looks back at Eleanor. Mrs. Chen, I'd like your permission to do something. I'd like to share your husband's story more widely. Not for publicity, but because people need to hear about teachers like him. About mentors who change lives quietly, without recognition, without rewards. Would that be okay with you? Eleanor nods enthusiastically through her tears. Richard would be so honored, Your Honor. He never wanted recognition for himself. But if his story could inspire other teachers to care about their students the way he did, he would love that. That would mean everything to him. The courtroom erupts in applause. It's different from the usual applause, though. This is reverent, respectful, tinged with sadness and joy, all mixed together. People are standing, honoring not just Judge Caprio and Eleanor, but the memory of Richard Chen, a man most of them never met but whose impact they're witnessing right now. One woman in the gallery stands up and speaks out. I'm a teacher, Your Honor. This story reminds me why I do what I do. Thank you for sharing it. An older man calls out, my life was changed by a teacher too. We need more Richard Chens in this world. Another voice adds, this is what education should be about, not just facts and tests. Judge Caprio has to use his gavel gently to restore order, but even he's smiling through his tears. You're absolutely right. We need more teachers like Professor Chen. We need more people who are willing to invest in others without expecting anything in return. That's how we build a better world. One mentorship at a time, one act of kindness at a time. After court adjourns, something beautiful happens. Judge Caprio spends nearly an hour with Eleanor in his chambers. No cameras, no audience, just two people connected by the memory of someone they both loved. Eleanor shows him pictures on her phone. Richard at his desk in that house on Benefit Street. Richard with his students at graduation. Richard and Eleanor on their 40th wedding anniversary. They share stories, laugh through their tears, and help each other remember. Judge Caprio tells Eleanor about other students Richard helped, people the judge has stayed in touch with over the years, a doctor who now runs a free clinic, a social worker who advocates for foster children, a lawyer who does pro bono work for immigrants. All of them trace their calling back to Richard Chen, All of them were touched by his belief in human potential. Before Eleanor leaves, Judge Caprio makes her a promise. Every year, on Richard's birthday, I'm going to do something special in this courtroom in his honor. I'm going to dismiss a case for someone who's struggling but trying their best, someone who deserves a second chance. And I'm going to tell them about your husband, about a teacher who believed in people. That way, his name and his legacy will live on. Eleanor hugs the judge, something that probably violates about 10 different courtroom protocols, but no one cares. Thank you for being the man my husband believed you could be, she whispers. Thank you for making his faith in you worthwhile. He would be so proud of you. 1 month after this courtroom encounter, Judge Caprio receives a package at his office. Inside is a leather-bound journal, worn with age. A note from Eleanor explains, this was Richard's journal from 1968 and 1969. The years he taught you. I thought you might want to see it. I found entries about you. Judge Caprio opens the journal with trembling hands. And there, in Richard Chen's neat handwriting, he finds entries about a troubled young student who showed so much promise. One entry reads, spoke with Frank today. He wants to quit school. Says he has no future. But I see something in him. Intelligence, yes, but more than that. Compassion. A deep sense of justice. I can just get him to see what I see. He could do remarkable things. I won't give up on him. Another entry from a few months later. Frank got accepted to law school. All my efforts were worth it. I believe he's going to make a real difference in this world. I believe he's going to be someone who uses the law to help people, not just to enforce rules. Time will tell, but I have faith in him. Judge Caprio keeps that journal in his chambers now. When he has difficult days, when he feels tired or discouraged, when he questions whether his work matters, he takes out that journal and reads those entries. He's reminded that someone believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. And that gives him the strength to keep believing in others. Hit that subscribe button if stories like this remind you why compassion matters, why taking time to see people, to really see them, makes all the difference. Share this video with teachers, with mentors who changed your life, with anyone who needs to be reminded that their actions have ripples far beyond what they can see. Eleanor Chen still goes back to 247 Benefit Street sometimes. But now when she parks there to remember her husband, she doesn't get tickets. The parking enforcement officers in that area heard about the story. They all know her car now. When they see her parked there, sitting quietly in her car, looking at the house where she built a life, they leave her alone. Sometimes they even stop and chat with her for a few minutes, asking about Richard, listening to her stories. One officer told her, your husband helped Judge Caprio, who has helped thousands of people, including my brother who was going through a rough time. That makes your husband a hero in my book. You park there as long as you want, Mrs. Chen. You've earned that right. This is what this story teaches us. That kindness multiplies. That one person taking time to mentor a struggling student in 1968 can create ripples that are still spreading in 2025. That teachers who work tirelessly for modest pay, who stay late to help struggling students, who believe in people when no one else does, they're not just teaching, they're changing the course of history one life at a time. Richard Chen never became famous. His name isn't in history books. He didn't win prestigious awards or make headlines. But he changed Judge Frank Caprio's life. And through Judge Caprio, he's touched millions of people around the world who've watched these courtroom moments and had their faith in humanity restored. That's a legacy worth celebrating. That's a life that truly mattered. Before we end, I want you to do something important. Think about the teachers and mentors in your life, the ones who believed in you, the ones who pushed you when you wanted to give up, the ones who saw your potential before you saw it yourself. Reach out to them if you can. Send them a message. Write them a letter. Tell them what they meant to you, because people like Richard Chen often die, never knowing the full impact they had. Let's make sure the mentors in our lives know they matter while we still can. Comment below from whatever country you're watching and tell me about a teacher who changed your life. Let's fill these comments with gratitude and stories that honor the Richard Chens of the world. And if you are a teacher or mentor, know that your work matters more than you could possibly imagine. You're planting seeds that might not bloom for decades, but they will bloom. They absolutely will. This is what Judge Caprio's courtroom teaches us over and over again. That behind every case is a human story. That compassion creates ripples that extend across time. That remembering where we came from and who helped us along the way isn't just nice, it's essential. And that sometimes a simple parking ticket can unlock a connection so profound it reminds us all of what really matters in life. Not rules and regulations, but people, love, kindness, legacy, the things that truly last long after we're gone. Thank you for watching, and please, never underestimate the power of believing in someone. You might just change the world.